So for the first task, we were asked to connect two DC motors, two solenoids, and four switches and buttons, the IR sensor, the potentiometer, and the encoder to the board. We set up a pneumatic system as shown in the manual, and we connected two valves to the board as well. After that, we studied the sample code from GitHub, and then we used that code to verify that every component operates correctly. So diving into the code, we start off by initializing some of our values that we will be using. We set count to 1 and IR and potentiometer is set to 0. We use a boolean 0 for all the buttons and assigned integer for the encoder. We read the encoder and then set the serial monitor to 9600 bps. Our main code is to run repeatedly and turn the outputs on and off in a repeating 1 second cycle. So the first 4 lines after it turns all the digital outputs, both pneumatics and solenoids, off and off. And then we have the robot move motor, which turns both the motors off. Following that, we replace the values of the buttons by repeating their condition. If they're on, we replace their value with 1. If they're off, it basically remains to 0. In the following 2 lines, we replace the value of the IR and the potentiometer that we initialize to the value that is read while the loop is running. Following that, we point on the serial monitor the conditions of all our inputs and outputs at that particular given loop. Then we delay the system for 1000 milliseconds, which is basically 1 second. And after that, we turn all the digital outputs on, and then we turn both the motors on at full speed, which is 255. And then delay it for 1 second once again. Then we compare the count to 1. If it's true, we set count to 2, or else we set the count to 1. This switches the motor speed on each loop to test in both directions.